welcome everybody. It's another Mondays with Mom. I don't know if we're going to get through this. Lord, you got me, Kentucky Ranger, and there's Mama as usual. And say howdy, Mama.
Howdy. Thanks for all the nice comments.
And my sister Sheree.
Hello.
My wife Carla.
Yeah.
Daughter
My
Tori.
daughter Tori. She can't say
hi.
too much. She's sick. The little thing.
See which stole my voice again.
Okay. Sea witch. I already see witch.
Yeah, she stole Ariel's voice.
Well, anyhow, after everything happened last week, we need to get on track. So we was getting ready to leave Akron, Ohio. You had just got out of the hospital having your aneurysm surgery. Well, it was after that, but that's where we kind of left off.
She got out of the hospital, I think it was like April of 70, and we left for Utah in February of 71.
Yeah, so it was a year.
Okay. Well, I remember it was cold out.
Actually, we got to Salt Lake February the 1st of 1971.
Yeah.
That's when we arrived.
Yeah, I guess I was in kindergarten when she got out of the hospital.
Yes, that you
something. Yeah, I think so.
I guess I wasn't too stupid because I had figured out the school, when you go for lunch, they had different lines. I'll never forget this. So I don't know, I guess because of what was going on, but they had a line for the lunchroom, then they had a line for something, and then a line for kids that went home for lunch. Because back then, you could walk home. If you lived close enough, you could walk home for lunch. Well, I didn't quite live close enough. I got it in line anyway. I didn't care. I walked home because I wanted to see you. You just got out of the hospital. And I'll never forget coming through the door. You had a big old bandage on your head.
Yeah.
You look like the Amazing Kreskin, or what's Johnny Carson that
Yeah, I
skit
remember
he used
that.
to do with the envelope.
I had that on my
Karnak,
head.
the Amazing Karnak.
Something like
I
that.
had that on my head because they'd shaved my head, and I was embarrassed.
Plus this big old bandage.
Yeah.
They just cut your head open. Back then, they really cut you. I mean, they busted you open like an egg.
Yeah, but I was in the hospital about 2 months, maybe 3.
Yeah, you was in the hospital for a while.
Yeah.
That doctor said if she had had that like just even a year earlier, more than likely she'd have died. That's just how far that they had come with that surgery.
I had a really good doctor.
Yeah. And,
But they didn't have MRIs and stuff like they got now. That's
No.
why she's in the hospital.
oh
so
Lord,
long.
no, they didn't have anything like
What
that.
year was that about?
1970.
And
About 40-some years ago.
while you were in there, that's the first time because Dad took me and Sheree to SeaWorld.
SeaWorld in Sandusky, Ohio.
Sandusky. Oh, is that place still there?
I don't know, but I thought that was odd. SeaWorld in Ohio.
Yeah, what's been a little kid, because I was, 7, 8, somewhere in there. But he took us
7.
7. Yeah, it was just... Yeah, that's right, because when we moved to Utah, I was still 7, wasn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Yeah.
turn 8 till we were
So he
there.
wasn't in kindergarten.
Well, it had to be kindergarten.
Yeah, he was.
At 7?
I was an intelligent kid.
No, you usually start kindergarten when you're 5.
You were a genius.
I was a
honey.
genius and didn't know it.
God love you.
That
You was a genius.
Picture of you and Kathy. What was that? 69?
I'll have to look at that. I know it's got the date
Yeah,
on it.
because
School year of 68, 69, something like that.
That was
yeah.
our first year of school.
Yeah, they started together.
It wasn't first grade, it was
It
kindergarten.
was kindergarten.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know what they do to kids nowadays. They started kids pretty early.
Oh,
back
they
in the
didn't
day.
have. Yeah, they did.
I think kids that age. Well, Victoria, she was in pre-K, wasn't she? Didn't,
Mhm.
She wasn't in kindergarten.
They
It's,
didn't
She-
have pre-K
She was
back
in
then.
pre-K. I tried to get her in Head Start because,
Right.
see, that's what I went to. When I was a kid, I went to not pre-K, but Head Start and then
Yeah.
kindergarten. And that's like what I put Victoria in when she was a child.
Yeah.
See, they didn't have that back
So they didn't
then.
have that back in. Well, they didn't have it in Ohio.
I think that started.
Ohio, they just started. You went to school early.
Yeah.
Now
And,
back then, they had morning kindergarten and afternoon kindergarten.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you only
it's
went like
half a
half a
day.
day or something.
Yeah.
Well, see, when I went to kindergarten here in Kentucky, we went all day long. But
Well, wait a minute, because they broke for lunch, so I came home for lunch.
Then you must have went to the PM. Even on that sign where you and Kathy standing, I think it said either AM or PM
Yeah,
kindergarten.
you know, I think it does, but they broke for lunch. What I thought was lunch. Well, I came home. I didn't go back. I wasn't planning on going back. Maybe that's what it was. They'd feed you and then you'd go home.
Maybe
I
that's
think
what
that's
it was.
what it was. You could either stay there and eat lunch and then get on the bus and go home. Yeah, because that's what I used to do. And I'd get on the bus and go home. Well, I got into the line to go home to eat lunch. That's what, because I didn't go back.
Actually, we walked. We didn't take the bus. We walked.
I
No,
can't
they're at
remember. All I
Firestone
know is I
Park.
snuck out to get home because
Because
I
you
wanted
could
to
walk
see her.
home. You could walk
Because
home.
while she was in the
It was
hospital,
just-
kids weren't allowed, and they wouldn't let me see her, so I didn't get to
It
see her
took
all
about
the time.
2 minutes to walk from our house to the school.
Yeah,
They did let us go see her once. I don't know. You probably don't remember.
That
that's
was
because
before the
that was
operation.
before. Yeah, they thought she was gonna die. They figured, well, this is the last time they'll ever see her.
Yeah.
But after the surgery, all that time that she was in, I don't know about you, I didn't ever got to see her, and that was like 2 or 3 months.
Well, let's talk about getting ready to go to Utah.
Well, anyway, after you got out, there was 2 funny things that Dad did. So you talk about the first one was the trip to Florida. You just barely got out of your band. Just he sent you on a
Yeah, he
plane
bought
trip.
me a new car too, and
Yeah, I was
I
getting ready to say that was the
backed
second
into
thing.
the neighbor's car out of the driveway.
I'll never forget. It was a 1970 Maverick,
Maverick, yeah.
and I mean it was the decked out with the V8. It had the V8. You remember the horrible thing about that car that you couldn't stand?
Don't remember.
Lord, you don't remember that?
What was
It
it?
scared you. You didn't. That's one thing you didn't like about the car, and you kept telling him you wanted him to disconnect it. It had that pressure-sensitive steering wheel. When you squeezed it, it honked the horn.
Oh,
So every time you're driving
yeah.
down the street, if you every time you reacted, it would honk the horn, and you
Right.
think somebody's going to
I
shoot you.
forgot about that. Yeah.
my dad had one like that. Ours did that.
Yeah, the steering wheel had a little strip, but he tried to explain that that's the only way you honk them, because I don't think it had like a pushy button on the thing.
Ours
That was
did.
the only way to honk the horn.
There was some kind of sensitive thing.
There's a little switch, it's
Yeah.
a pressure switch, but it went all the way around the steering
Yeah.
wheel. I mean, it was
Daddy-
an ingenious idea.
Daddy had one like that, and he kept blowing the horn, and people
Yeah,
kept getting
well,
mad
if
at
you
him.
squeeze, every time you squeeze
Yeah.
it a little bit, and I understand the thinking behind it is when you react,
Yeah, you're tensing
you
up.
tense up and squeeze. Well, you're going to honk the horn before you can think about honking it.
I think that was the only year that they had those.
Ah, Lord, I can't.
Tell about
Daddy hated it.
tell
was
about the
white
cop
and all
chasing you. That car would flat.
No, that was
Move
another
on.
thing about it is it had the V8 in it. That car would fly.
Oh, that's the only time I was ever stopped by the cops. Is my friend, you know, Walter and Nancy.
Mm.
Nancy just had her baby, Sherry, and I had you and Cherie in the back seats.
Mm.
That's when seatbelts come along.
Right, yeah, they
And
were
I had
just
you
coming.
strapped in, and I had the gift right there by me, and man, I was just barreling down. I forget what route that was, but doesn't matter. But all of a sudden, Cherie and Donald started
Whoop, whoop.
yelling, "The cops is
Here comes
after you!
cops.
The cops
Here
is
comes the
after you!"
police.
So I looked back. They kept telling me to pull over, so I did. I put my blinkers on and got over and stopped. And the cop come up and says, "Where do you think you're going?" And said, "You're doing 80 miles an hour," and I forget what the speed limit was. And I says, "Well, these new cars, you don't know how fast you're going." He says, "Well, I sure knew how fast you was going in this," I forget what make of a car he
It
had.
was a map. Oh,
his
His
car.
car? Lord, I have no idea.
Anyway, he said in the police car. You
Yeah.
know. But he said, "Where was you going so fast?" So I told him to my friends had just had the baby, and I showed him the gift. And he said, "Young lady, I'm just going to give you a warning this time. You slow that thing down."
I'll tell you one thing sticks in my mind about that car. I might be wrong, but I swear it just every time I close my eyes, it was white, but it had the greenest, gaudiest green interior. The seats and everything, and the dashboard was green.
I don't remember
I
that.
don't remember that.
It was either green or blue. I think it was green though.
I
Oh, it
honestly
was
don't
just, it was
remember.
like, green. It was like, ugh.
Grasshopper green?
Oh yeah, it was just like green. It was like screaming green.
That-
It wasn't just green, it was green.
That in the 60s and 70s, man, they had some
Oh,
horrible
they had
colors.
some weird colors in the 70s. Weird in the late 60s. Yeah, that was the Maverick, but the trip to Florida, you gotta tell us the trip to Florida.
Not much happened.
It most certainly did.
What?
Well, first, it was the first plane ride you'd ever had in
Yeah.
your life. And he sent you with a friend of yours.
Yeah.
And who was?
Her name was Jenny. It wasn't my sister Jenny. It was
Yeah,
just
see, where I was young, I
a
thought it was Aunt
bowling
Jenny.
partner.
Yeah, I did. But
And somebody stole her money while she was there.
Just
Yeah.
getting ready to come back, and somebody picked my pocket.
well,
I didn't
explain
have
who was-
enough money to go to the airport.
Yeah, you were on the beach wading around in the water, and something rubbed your foot, and you thought Jaws was going to
Yeah, I
get
thought
you.
it was a shark.
And
I jumped out of there so quick.
but the surreal thing about it is, here you hadn't been out of the hospital very long,
Not long at all.
No.
and he sends you down to Florida for what, a week? I think.
Yeah, it was a week.
And then when you got back, you had that brand new car.
Nice.
Oh, and if y'all could have seen, well, you can kind of see one of her eyes that looks a little lazy. When she first had that surgery done, the doctor said that she'd never regain her eyesight in that eye. Well, she did. It was a miracle, and she kept exercising it, and
I went and had it prayed over too.
right,
God is good.
Reverend
Yes, he
Groves.
is.
Well, Reverend
I
Groves.
loved Reverend Groves. He was a sweetheart.
But at that particular point in time, you couldn't see how that. I mean, you could see, but
It
was
was
all
closed.
It was all
It was.
cattywampus, and yeah, that's right. It was completely closed.
She used scotch tape to force it open.
But
For so long
you-
each day.
he couldn't see. He sends you to Florida and buys you a new car. No wonder you was backing into stuff. But anyway, okay. So we got to. So now we're getting ready to go to
So-
Florida.
We finished out the school year, 69, 70 year.
Right,
And then now it's the summer. After she come back from Florida,
right.
we moved from Firestone Park to Cuyahoga Falls because they were getting ready to send down to Salt Lake City, Utah, so they had to sell their house. And we
Right.
moved in this little rental house in Cuyahoga Falls in the late summer because we started school in Cuyahoga Falls that year in 70.
Yeah, I can't remember that.
It was called
house.
Schnee.
It happened so fast.
Yeah.
So we
You know,
went part of
7-year-old kid's mind. That
Yeah.
I do remember Holly Avenue, but I don't remember that pre-move thing that we did.
We didn't live there. Well, we lived there from the late summer until the end of January of 71 is when we spent Christmas and stuff in that little rental
Right.
house. And we went to school in Cuyahoga Falls at this place called Schnee.
Yeah.
And then so we had to start school probably in February of
But
71 we
Getting
got
ready
to
for
Salt
that
Lake.
trip. Something, I guess, because the driving or something, he let that car go back. I can't remember why.
They let it go back before we ever left.
Yeah, before we left.
Oh,
and
Well,
then-
we had to take out bankruptcy.
Bankrupt, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Back in them days when you went bankrupt,
They
You
come
li-
and
you
got
had to
everything.
well, yeah, you had to liquidate everything.
Everything. When they
The only thing
got
they left
through, I
you
had
with was
nothing.
you had the clothes on your back. That was about it.
I think they took our toys.
I can't remember.
I swear I think they took our toys because I had this little horse that my grandmother got me, and I put it in a box I thought was going with us, and that's the last I ever seen it. So-
He went and bought that old
68 Chevy Impala.
Yeah. Was it 68? I thought it was
67. It might have been 67.
It was used.
But the floor was about rusted out in it.
Floorboard. That's the thing. Akron, Ohio. Cars in Ohio, they don't last very long
No, from that salt. They
from the
put
salt.
much
The
salt
harsh
on it.
winter. Yeah, they have these
Yeah.
harsh winters. And
So about the last 2 days, no, the last 3 or 4 days of January 1971, we set out for Salt Lake City, Utah, in an old rusty out 67
it's
Chevy
rusty.
Impala and the clothes on our back.
Yeah, but I gotta tell what you had told your teacher.
Oh, I forgot about that.
oh yeah, before we
Thank
went
God
to town.
that we moved when we did.
She told they were putting on a play, and
No,
the
they're
teacher,
putting on a what
Talent show.
Talent show.
yeah, and they were asking the kids if they did anything, and Sheree told the teacher that she could play the piano and that she could tap dance.
And she was a
And
ballerina.
she was a ballerina.
And that I
dancer.
wrote songs.
Did she
Song-
wrote
songwriter.
songs? Anyway,
That was
Honey,
funny.
that's some talent.
yeah.
Well, she's only
Anyway,
10.
we got
Pretty good.
we got out of town before that happened.
Yeah, the teacher had her lined up. She was going to be the showcase of the show.
Yeah.
Didn't know there was so much talent.
Well,
in the
I'm so
family.
sorry. I wish I could stay and perform for y'all, but that tour bus is out waiting on me. I gotta go. See y'all. Oh, and don't forget, the dad stole the mattress out of the sleeper bunk of one of the trucks at work.
That's
Put
the
it
only
in
thing
the back
that
seat of the car to keep me and you from falling through into the road.
that was the only thing that kept us off the road. Was
So
that
we
mattress.
basically went from Akron, Ohio to Salt Lake City on the back of a mattress in the back seat of a
Right.
67 Chevy Impala. Gertrude, he called it Gertrude.
Right.
We arrived in the Salt Lake Valley about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. February the 1st, 1971.
Wow, glad you
We had to
remember
stay
that,
in
'cause I
the World
could-
Motel.
World Motel.
It's not there no more, but I used to be a maid there years ago when I was
Well,
like
its claim to
16,
fame
17.
is they had that great big neon arch
Mhm.
that said World Hotel, World
Motel.
Motel, whatever it said on it. But we spent, what, 3 months there?
It was a long time.
Oh my God, it was.
It was a while.
But I'll never forget, well, see, now just before we left, they ushered us into the lunchroom, and they had great big old black and white TVs on a roller cart, and we all sit there and watch the moon landing.
That's right, I forgot
Yes.
about that.
I think we talked about that before. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
But it doesn't matter. Then,
Well, then when we got to Salt Lake, we got to see, and I think it was when they landed on the moon with the first lunar excursion, what do they call that thing? The
Apollo?
lunar rover,
Oh.
I think.
I don't remember.
71.
Was this-
Yeah, somewhere in there. They had the little rover. But I remember we sit there watching it at the motel on their TV in our
Well.
room.
But
Lord,
then
that
we,
was-
then we get moved into that apartment building.
Yeah, we moved into
That's where we started school.
Yes.
Highland,
started
Highland Park,
Highland-
Highland Heights.
It's
Highland
Highland Avenue.
Avenue.
It's Highland
Yeah,
something.
the town was
apartments.
like Highland. Saying we was right next door to the Highland.
Drive-in. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
I think
that's
it was
it.
Highland
Highland.
Avenue.
Yeah, it's Highland Avenue.
But anyway, yeah, but it was big old apartment complex. And what I thought was cool is we used to climb up on the cinder block wall
The
and
wall.
watch the movies.
Yeah, I
Drive-in.
can remember that.
They'd sneak over the wall and they'd turn 3 or 4 car speakers up close, and then we'd sit there and watch the movie.
I'll never forget. I lost you. You didn't come home, and it was getting dark, and I was out there yelling for you, and I started panicking real bad. And lo and behold, you were in one of the apartments playing video games or something with a kid.
I don't
Well,
think
we
they
didn't
did.
have
They
video
even.
games. Back
Whatever
That's what
then.
I was getting ready to
was.
say.
I think we was playing with Legos.
Maybe
But
that
I
was
remember
it.
that. Yeah, I befriended some kid and we hung out.
And thank God the mother said that you should go home because your parents might
Yeah,
be
it was
looking
getting
for
dark
you.
again.
Yeah.
Well, see, we hadn't lived there very long, and there was either 2 or 3 the apartment buildings.
You know, we must have lived there for quite a while because you
Without
guys
the
went
school
swimming.
year, I think
We lived there from towards the end of February when we got there
Yeah.
until the end of
Yeah,
the summer when the apartments
the
caught fire.
apartment. Well, no,
Yeah.
we started school there because we moved from the motel to there.
Right.
Yeah, we
And
started
then we
school.
started school,
in-
and then we
in
stayed
February.
the summer. Well, not the summer. Yeah.
'Cause you
Well,
guys
yeah,
go
we moved
swimming.
into the apartment. We was there for the summer. We started school,
in
and
February.
probably what?
We started school in the end of February.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember.
And so we were there from towards the end of February, all through the summer, and then when those apartments caught fire was towards the end of the summer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we hadn't went to that school, so no, when we moved there, February.
So
School
we
year
were-
was
You're
still
okay,
there.
honey.
Yeah, so
don't
we-
hold back your cough.
Oh Lord, no, don't worry about that.
No, that's
No,
fine.
don't you dare.
get the
You-
cough,
So we
and I
were
can
in
edit
school.
that out.
Well, sure. Don't you try
We
to
were
hold
in
that
school
back.
from February, March, April, probably 4 months.
February. Yeah. Anyway, it was one of the worst schools I'd ever been to,
It was horrible.
and for some reason they thought, even though Akron, Ohio, was about as north as you can get without going into Canada, they thought we were hillbillies.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, that's how. Well,
No, I
I
still
won't
get
say
it,
into
but
that.
I
No.
But we weren't really actively looking for another place to live until that man
Yeah,
caught the
until it caught
apartment.
fire.
Yeah.
and
Well,
then
that's when one of the truck drivers and his wife had bought that trailer out there in West.
yeah,
Was
trailer
it West Jordan?
West Jordan.
And they didn't like it out there, and they wanted to go back. And so we bought that off of them.
Nice little trailer park. I think it's
Yeah.
still a pretty nice trailer park.
It was. Well, you could own your own property in there. It was
Yeah,
kind
Yeah,
of
we
it's,
different than
bought
it's
one
not
place.
like what most people, when you say trailer park,
Yeah.
they're like, oh God, this
'Cause
is
I
actually
bought
a pretty
the-
nice neighborhood.
Me and
It
your
was.
dad bought the lot right next to that one, so it
Right.
would be
Yeah.
more private.
We were there
And
from.
then fenced it in.
We were in that trailer park from towards the end of the summer of 71
71. Yeah.
until the
Because it was shortly after we moved down
first
there. it was
part, like
Christmas.
March or
That was our
April.
first, I think it was like our first big major
Yeah.
woohoo
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
So we were there from the summer of 71 until early spring of 75 when we moved to Blair Street. That's how long we were in that trailer.
It was gargantuan, what, whole 60 foot, 2 bedroom,
It wasn't very
1
big.
bathroom.
Yeah. Well, we managed.
But the
Hey,
lots-
it worked. It
The
managed.
lots were big.
We had 2
Oh, yeah.
dogs.
Oh yeah, we had a really nice big yard. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had Savage and Boo Boo.
Mhm.
And let's see if I can dig. Well, I know we got that one. You and Jenny sitting down. I want to show that one again. That's Savage and Boo Boo. Savage is the big white
Right.
one. Boo Boo's the little black one.
How
Now,
did y'all get Savage?
she was
When we were in the trailer park, she was the puppy.
belonged to some people up the street,
Was another driver. at
and they were
CF.
just kind of letting her run loose.
Oh.
And we told my dad one night, said, "Can our friend come in and play?" And he
Yeah.
said, "Well, yeah." And it was her, that big
You
dog.
opened the door here, this big white dog start.
She was beautiful.
Oh, she was something.
What kind
She
of dog was she? She was
The
gorgeous.
Samoyed Husky.
Wow, she was beautiful.
She was pretty.
She lived to be, what, 18?
18 years
She had
old.
this distemper when we got her, and
Yeah,
the
when we
doctor
got
brought
her.
her through it.
Yeah, the doctor didn't make any promises.
Yeah, he brought her through
And
it.
Boo Boo was a puppy out of a stray dog that I'd picked up, and she'd had puppies.
Misty was
Misty.
her name.
Yeah.
What happened to Misty? I can't remember.
They had to take her to the Humane Society. We just couldn't keep her. But we kept one of the puppies that she had.
Yeah.
I'll let you out when this is over.
Yeah, you go just a little while longer, about 10 minutes.
She's being so good.
Yes,
She is. She's a doll baby.
We could write a
if
book
y'all-
on all of our travels.
Oh Lord, if you was wondering, that's Junebug. She's got to be in the timeout cage because she bumps the microphone and stuff. But anyway, the hilarious thing about Savage Boo Boo, do you remember living in the trailer? Is she would get Boo Boo, or no, Boo Boo would get her. He was a digger. He'd dig holes under the fence.
He's an
'cause
escape artist.
Escape artist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's funny is he'd dig and dig. Well, there was a bunch of rocks. Well, he'd get to where a rock and he couldn't get it to move. He'd get Savage out there to move it for him.
He would.
And we'd sit there in the house and look out the window and watch this operation going on. But
How about the strawberries?
that was when we.
Oh, that was
way later on down the road.
Way down the road.
We'll talk about this. Yeah, Savage.
That
she
was
was a big
funny.
part of our family for
Oh, it was
18
funny.
years.
She's a
Long
beautiful
time.
baby.
I loved her.
But-
She was a sweetheart.
Well, you remember I used to tie a rope around her. I had an inner tube, and she'd drag me around the yard.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
big. She was a
Oh,
big
she
dog.
was. She was strong.
She was beautiful.
And snuggle buddy. She loved getting to bed and snuggle.
Oh, what was so funny about her, I wouldn't let her up on the couch. And she would wait until we got in bed, and you could hear her sneaking in there
Yes.
and getting up on the couch. And if I'd get up
You'd hear
through
it
the
funk.
night, she'd
Yeah.
hear me get up. She'd jump down real quick.
Tell me animals ain't smart.
Yeah, they
They're
are.
So
Very
what
smart.
happened to her is y'all had just spent a boatload of money on brand new carpet for the house.
And furniture.
Yeah, and Dad had spilled something, and it got on the chair and it got on the carpet.
It was the couch.
Yeah, and got up the next day, and she had eat a hole in the floor where that stuff had spilled. She'd eat part of the arm of the cat. Well, he got so mad, he made you take her to the
Humane
pound.
Society.
While me and Sheree was in school.
No, you got that all wrong.
Oh, okay. Well, you
She
tell.
ate the couch, the arm of the couch,
Yeah.
and she peed in the floor.
Look
And
at
I was the one
A
that
lake.
got so mad at her.
She peed a
Oh.
leg.
And I called Ron and told him, come and take us to the Humane Society.
Well, me and Sheree was in school though.
Yeah, and she tried to tell me somebody stole her, and I wasn't buying.
Yeah, I said she ran
Oh
away or
Lord, yeah.
something.
Me and Sheree come home from school. We
Anyway.
freaked out. We're savage. We're savage.
Anyway, we left her there overnight. And so I had to go back the next day, and I had to call Ron again to come
Yeah.
take me. Well, your dad was off,
Yeah, he's
on
on
a
the
trip.
road. Yeah.
and I had told him, that I took her to the Humane Society. So
Lord,
anyway, when he come back home, there stood Savage,
mercy. Yeah.
because Ron took me to go get her. I was afraid somebody was gonna come in and see her and take her, because she was so pretty.
Oh, beautiful.
But
Oh, my
she
goodness.
never went in the house again.
I was
That
going to
was
say
it.
that was the last
The
time she
last
ever
time.
ate anything other than
Yeah.
my Legos. Now she
Yeah.
she would snack on my Legos
Yeah.
How'd you catch her doing that?
because she would hose the poop in the yard down, and she's like, "What in the world?" Because there was these little like red and green and blue little pieces of something in her poop. And what it was is she was eating them Legos, pooping the plastic out.
Oh, Lord.
So she had the most colorful poop. But
She ate my
Another-
stuffed animals too.
Another thing about
Yeah.
her too is when we sold that trailer and moved into town in this house till we could buy us a place.
yeah,
You guys had a hamster, and it
Uh-oh.
died,
yeah. Oh Lord,
and you buried it out back.
yeah. Herbie the
And
hamster.
she went out and dug it up and was playing with it.
Poor Herbie.
Yeah, I
throw
think
it
I,
in the-
yeah, I think I buried the poor little feller 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
she'd
she did
find
that.
it, dig it up. She wouldn't eat it or anything. She'd play with it.
Was she trying to bring him back?
I guess.
Yeah,
Come
she
on,
thought,
Harley,
well,
come
She's
back.
flipping it in the air.
well, she wanted to play with him when he was alive, and we wouldn't let her. Well,
Now that
I guess she figured, well, if he's out in the yard, I can play with him now.
That
Poor
just
Herbie.
you just reminded me. Do I have time to tell this?
Yeah.
When we moved over there to Blair Street, that was in 1975, just before I flew back to spend the summer with
Yeah.
Mark and Charlie,
Yeah.
our grandparents. And they were having a contest at the country radio station that for your truck driver dads. Why should your dad win this award?
Well,
So I wrote this letter. I hadn't even turned 15 yet. And I wrote this big long letter because he was in that Million Mile Club.
yeah.
How many millions of miles my dad had drove and got this big award and stuff.
Yeah.
And mailed it off to him. He won, but I was gone. Dad didn't even know that I had
Lord.
entered it. They got a dinner and a belt buckle and
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that.
And what is a Million Mile Club? I don't think you literally drive million
Yeah,
miles.
you do.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
There's no way that your dad had driven 1,000,000 miles.
Well, I
I
told
don't
him at the
think.
radio
Close enough.
station how many millions of miles my dad had drove without a accident, and he didn't even know I had
Well,
entered
see.
him in that till I was gone.
Probably
Oh.
blowed him
Well,
away.
see, over the years, cause you remember when I first started driving, see, he started driving CF, and he drove for CF for what, 38 years?
It's a long time.
Why?
Did he win a belt buckle?
Oh,
Yeah,
he
from
used
CF.
to win all kinds of
Yeah.
I
jackets
think I've
and
still
belt
got
buckles
that.
and coats and
That's in there
diamond
amongst the...
rings, and I don't know, he won all
Yeah.
kinds of
I
stuff.
think I took some pictures of that stuff the other day for you.
I
Some
don't know.
awards that he had won.
Oh, yeah,
The
yeah,
belt
I'll throw
buckle.
some of them up. Yeah, the
Yeah.
little pins and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because I started off PST, they don't even exist.
Right.
Then I went to work for Clearwater. Well, they went belly up. And then I went to work for Kimberly Clark. Well, they went belly.
Well, just that.
The
just
Kimberly
that.
Clark didn't go belly. Their trucking operation, they turned it over to Schneider. So, and then we moved back here, and I worked for Lexington Cartage. Well, I wasn't there quite long, and I had 800,000 mile award. I was working on my 1,000,000 mile when I got hurt. I got 800,000 mile. I don't figure it ain't too bad.
That's something to be proud of. Drive that far
Well,
without an
sure.
accident.
You ain't kidding.
Well, the miles rack up, when you go from coast to coast,
You ain't
north,
kidding.
north and south,
Yeah,
east
buddy.
and west.
But yeah, we'll wrap this up. We're at a half hour, so
We've left off in 1975.
somewhere in there we'll pick it up. You're doing that,
What?
egging her on. I see you over there.
No,
Oh, you
I'm
on
shaking my
her. You
fingers
on her.
in.
Exactly, and she's watching you. Look at her. Well, anyway, we're going to put this off before Junebug has a cow. Yeah, keep doing it. That's all right.
I ain't doing nothing.
Well, God bless as always, and tune in next week. I think we kind of went over stuff the second time. Anyway, it don't matter. It's still cool.
Yeah.
But,
Junebug says, come back next
yeah,
week.
Junebug says,
Leave that in there. Junebug.
Junebug says, y'all
Nice
take
talking
care.
to you.
Nice talking to you. Anyhow, God bless. Take care, and we'll see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Because we didn't talk about Dad sending you to Florida and
Oh.
Shark about getting you and all. Just
Oh, I forgot about that.
so yeah, we'll talk about that.
You can always edit some of that.
Well, I'd rather talk about us going to Utah.
Well, we'll get to that. Trust me, it ain't gonna take that long. Okay.
Because me going to Florida and all that ain't interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It most certainly is.
First time you'd ever been on an airplane.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Got to
Are you
turn the
sure?
furnace off.
I guess you're right. I was tell Mama to shut
Nice
up.
for her kids.
I was thinking about
Eunice
in
is
Utah.
gonna get you.
Yeah, you went down to Alexis.
Anyway,
First time Skipper
Almost
ever had
got
flea.
kidnapped.
Well, hold on a second, because he's got to get all this said.
Oh, that'd be
Anyway,
interesting.
let's-
You almost got kidnapped?
Yeah, by this Mexican.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
well,
He says, "Would you like to go for some coffee?" I said, "Well, I already had some." And I says, "Can I take your picture?" I thought, well, if I disappear, his picture will
It'll be on the camera.
Yeah.
wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, but I don't want to be racist, so I won't say.
It's too late for that. That boat done sailed.
I won't say Mexican.
Hey,